With that, I'd like to call Mark Seawards to move the motion.
Thank you very much. I beg to move that this House has considered government support for mass transit in West Yorkshire. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, Miss Jardine. Last week, I was delighted to have secured this debate. The confirmation of the date came through just an hour before the news that the government will indeed be investing £2.1 billion in West Yorkshire's public transport. And this includes over £1 billion for a new tram in Leeds and Bradford. So I'm even happier to be here now leading this debate than I was when I received the confirmation. I would like to start with the background to this decision and explain why this is such a huge moment for my city, my home city Leeds, but also for our home region of West Yorkshire. Leeds is currently the largest city in Europe without a mass transit system. This is such a well-known fact, and I've heard it so often said in my life that if I'd been given £1 for every time I'd heard it, I could have personally financed the mass transit system myself 10 years ago with spare change for a space programme. Now, transport aficionados and members from my part of the world will know that this was not always the case. Leeds did have a horse-drawn tram as early as 1871, and at its peak, this network, which didn't have horses by that time, had 476 trams and 124 miles of track. But while the horses didn't leave us completely, the trams did. What had once been the largest urban transport system, one of the largest urban transport systems in the UK, was finally closed down in 1959, and we saw the end of our tram system. Now, throughout the 1970s, Leeds was often referred to as the motorway city of the 70s, and I think it even appeared on a stamp. That's because we became entirely reliant on the car, and that has held us back in some respects. There's only so much traffic you can add to our roads before you have to expand them, add new lanes, rethink traffic systems, and often this is only for a temporary benefit before you have to consider the next solution. Now, policymakers, to their credit, and politicians did figure this out. This isn't something that we've just come to ourselves. We know that trams can carry approximately 4 times the number of passengers of a typical bus. We know it massively increases the transport capacity of any region. We know they're versatile, and we know they can run alongside road networks where needed, because they can be segregated away from traffic to avoid congestion and improve journey times for passengers. They're also very consistent too. And that's why politicians have tried multiple times to bring mass transit back to Leeds without success. We've had everything. Plans for trams, a trolley bus scheme, an elevated railway that wasn't dissimilar from the Simpsons episode of the monorail, and even an underground proposal if you're willing to go back far enough. It's left some people in my city highly sceptical of the announcement last week because we have been burned too many times. And of course, I'm happy to give way.
Madam Chair, can I commend the honourable gentleman for Leeds South West and Morley for bringing this forward? Now, I spoke to him before, and this has been a passion of his, not just when he's been an MP in this House, but before he came here as well. So I think his debate today is one to be welcomed. Also very pleased, if I can say this, Madam Deputy Chair, to see the Minister in her place, and I'm sure the Minister won't let him down when it comes to the reply. No pressure, Minister, in relation to that. But does the honourable member not agree that these transportation routes and hubs with which residents in London take for granted have taken decades to build, but that without sustained investment they are simply dreams? And would the honourable member not further agree that government, and the Minister in this case, needs to commit substantially to projects and not a small slice of the budget towards achieving them with very onerous conditions? Thank you so much.
I thank the honourable member so much for his contribution, an incredibly timely one as well, because I couldn't agree more. One of the reasons that Leeds residents were sceptical last week, some were sceptical last week about the announcement, is because of the repeated failures of previous governments of different colours to actually deliver the transport improvements we know we deserve. But I'm here to say that this time is different. The money has been committed and it has been announced by the government for the tram system in conjunction with the combined authority. The obstacles have been removed, and I'm going to spend the rest of my time as a Member of Parliament for Leeds South West and Morley making sure that this system is actually built. It's going to provide the boost Leeds needs to compete with other major cities in the UK that already have their mass transit systems in place. But we have some things that they don't. as well as a newly promoted Premier League team, we can already boast that we have the largest financial and professional service sectors outside of London, and we also have the highest rate of growing businesses outside the capital too, depending on how you measure it. The mass transit system will help us supercharge these sectors and more once it's finally completed. Now, the funding provided by the government does allow for construction of phase 1 of this scheme. And just a bit of information on phase 1 for those who aren't familiar. It provides 2 main tram lines. We have the Bradford line, which connects Leeds City Centre to Bradford City Centre, with an option to connect through Wortley too. And I am very much advocating for that option, given that, yes, it's in my constituency, but no, it's not just because the stop would run right next to my house. The second line is the Leeds line, and it has the potential to connect our hospitals, Leeds Railway Station, Ellen Road Stadium, and White Rose Shopping Centre all to each other. I'm also very excited about the White Rose stop, because that is the confirmed stop for that line. Although the rest of them are out for consultation, all lines finish at the White Rose. That's in my constituency, and I spent much of my early life at the White Rose Centre, working there throughout my A-levels and university, so I know what it'll mean for jobs in my constituency, and I also know what it means for the communities I represent if we're able to link them up under this unified transport system with the tram in the White Rose Centre. It's really, really an important move for our region and for my constituency. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I do want to say that I'm very hopeful for phase 2 of the plans. Now, phase 2 should connect more locations in our region directly to the network, allowing many more constituencies to feel the full benefits of a mass transit system on their doorstep. It's clearly important that not only Leeds and Bradford should benefit from these plans, but the whole of West Yorkshire should as well. Now, as chair of the APPG for Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire, I'm determined to find solutions for growth for our region, and every single one of our members are too. Mass transit is key to this. It's certainly been popular amongst residents and businesses in West Yorkshire. The combined authority spent a bit of time last year speaking with individuals and businesses across our region, 5,000 in total, and 2/3 of everyone they surveyed backed the Bradford line, and 3/4 of everybody they spoke to backed the Leeds line, so it's extremely welcome. Both lines are also going to improve transport for nearly 675,000 people. Now, I will just say that all of this would not have been possible had it not been for the tireless work and commitment of West Yorkshire Mayor Tracy Brabin. Tracy's been the strongest advocate for mass transit in our region ever since she took office. It formed a key part of her manifesto last year, and now she is delivering on that promise. Her fierce desire to grow our local economy and build infrastructure that benefits everyone in West Yorkshire is an inspiration. Her efforts mean that we can take advantage of devolution in full. Now, the scheme is part of the local growth plan, and it will see the creation of about 33,000 new jobs, new homes, and about £26 billion of extra growth in our region over the next decade. Now, the Weaver network is something that I have to pay commitment to, because our brand new franchised integrated transport system is key to the Weaver network. It would be remiss of me not to state how pleased I am that all of our buses are being brought back into public control under one banner from 2027 onwards. And while the tram will bring the huge benefits that I've already spoken about, our buses are just as important. In my constituency, the ward of Ardsley and Robin Hood is very poorly served by the current arrangements around buses. I'm going to work with Tracy Brabin to change this, because it isn't just true for Ardsley and Robin Hood. Sadly, it is true for many routes and networks across my constituency. The Weaver network will connect that franchise bus network with our trams, with our train services, as well as linking up with active travel routes. It's the unified transport system that our region deserves. Now, before I conclude, I do want to thank all of my colleagues that have contributed to this campaign to secure a tram network for West Yorkshire. I'd also like to thank my friend and constituency neighbour, the Chancellor. Her support has been consistent for this project, and it's been incredibly welcome. The investment, we know, is a vote of confidence in West Yorkshire. It's a vote of confidence by the government, who knows how much we have to offer and how much potential our region has. It is just the start of our plans to unlock the potential that our region has. I do have some questions for the Minister to consider that I'd like her to respond to, if possible, when she's wrapping up. So, can the government confirm that the funding provided to the combined authority will be flexible and will allow for phase 1 to be built in full? How will the government work with the combined authority to train and recruit the skilled workers needed to deliver this infrastructure? What is the government's latest assessment on the economic benefits that this project will bring West Yorkshire? How does the government envision working alongside with the combined authority to take advantage of the opportunities created by our mass transit system once it's completed? And is the government as optimistic as I am that the case for any second phase of the project will be even stronger once the impacts are felt from the first phase? I'd be very grateful, as I said, if the Minister can take these into account when she delivers her closing remarks. But on the whole, I'd like to put on record my thanks and appreciation to all of those who share our region's ambition and everyone who has supported this project. It gives me great pleasure to say that we will have spades in the ground on the tram for 2028. And finally, it is time for trams in West Yorkshire. Thank you very much.
I remind members that they should bob if they wish to be called in the debate. The question is that this House has considered government support for mass transit in West